Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Kyoko. Thanks, Melinda, for bringing that to us. As we prepare for our opening song, before we do that, I just want to see if we have two people who would like to lead us in our opening sentences. Those will follow our opening song, and the words will be on the slides. Is there somebody that would be willing to help read those this morning? If you put up your hand, I will scan the room, looking for two readers. Great. Catherine, I see you, and Ruth, I see you. So Catherine, would you please be our leader, and Ruth, would you please read the people line when they come after Kipp leads us in our opening song? Thank you.
All right, welcome again, Kipp, he, him pronouns. And we've got music from Kyoko to sing along to as we have as we sing. And the opening song is Sweet, Sweet Spirit by Doris Akers. One of the things we miss out on when we're not using hymnals is at least the UCC hymnal has wonderful little introductory comments for hymns. So this song, it says, this is one of the most popular gospel songs from the corpus of African-American songwriters who emerged during the golden age of gospel, which was in the mid-20th century. So Doris Akers wrote this tune, Sweet, Sweet Spirit. And fingers crossed that okay, we're on the right track so far. So thank you, Kyoko, for accompaniment that will allow us to sing along.
Amen. Thank you, Kipp, and thank you, Kyoko, for all the kind of magical ways that we can bring in music from different parts of the world and also sing and be present from where we each are. Thank you so much. I invite us now to join in and join up with our opening sentences. As we get those ready, Catherine and Ruth will lead us. I invite you to join in from wherever you are.
The realm of God breaks through in mysterious ways.
We cannot limit the creativity of God's unfolding.
There are times when holy bewilderment seeps into our souls
And shakes us from sleepwalking through our precious lives.
In moments of awe, we experience the vastness of being alive.
In moments of wonder, we marvel at what is beyond words.
Sometimes holy mystery flips on the light and awakens us to possibility.
Let us worship the God of mysterious and determined hope.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Catherine, for leading us and offering your voice into this space. I invite us to take a couple minutes to check in and check up on announcements and what's happening in our community and for the good of our community. We're so grateful this morning for those who make our worship possible. Melinda behind the tech curtain, thank you so much. Jamie Stroud will be usher, which means she'll be the one helping us to kind of collect up and gather up and weave together our prayers. And Jack Vandenberg and Ian Ingebretson are the ones creating a hospitable space and admitting folk into the worship this morning as our greeters. Thank you so much. Our Sci-Fi Book Club is still marching on, and they will be meeting on March 1st for a discussion of the novel Binti. You are invited to join that conversation. That is all on Zoom. The Sci-Fi Book Club enjoys discussing science fiction books written by typically underrepresented authors. So this is not your run-of-the-mill sci-fi book club. So past books have included Parable of the Sower and Three Body Problem and Robopocalypse. So you are welcome to join that conversation. We'll be sending out an all-church email with a link to that. But if you don't see that or get it or miss it, you can reach out to the pastors or to our church council chair, Michelle Williams, for that link. We're having an auction and we're really excited about that. That will be an online auction. In order to do that, we need things to auction off. We've already got some offerings, which are really wonderful and exciting. And we really, really do need more. So please invite you to think in the next 5 days about what you either have to offer, a connection you have with a business or a vendor that might appreciate having their item or a gift certificate in our auction to drum up some business for them and contribute to the community, or something that you can do or make or give that will help make our auction a success, and help us meet our financial obligations as a community. Molly Davis is our contact person there. We'll put her email address in the chat, and you can please reach out to Molly. Great, thanks, Kipp. And let her know what it is that you can offer. We've got some really exciting things. We have a weekend in the Poconos. We have a pool membership. We have monthly coffee delivery and other things. So please think about how you can help support this effort. There's online yoga being offered. It's a really wonderful experience by a church member, Janine McCain. We'll put that link in there. That's actually happening this afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern time. That is free and available to anybody who would like to join. It's a really gentle, wonderful, reflective space led by a really trusted yoga teacher and community member. If you have any questions or comments for Church Council, you can reach our co-chairs, Michelle and Eli, at churchcouncil@chestnutunited.org. And if you have prayer requests that you would like to share with the pastoral staff, we would be honored to be praying with you and for you. And you can reach us at prayers@chestnutunited.org. We are excited that next week we will be moving back to, we had a dry run of this on Christmas Eve, full hybrid worship with folk in the sanctuary and folk online. We're very excited about this. We have been working so hard. Incredible volunteer efforts have made this possible. People learning new skills and offering their time. New equipment is in the sanctuary. The staff have been working feverishly. So we are very grateful that this is possible for us, and for all the folks that have made this possible. We will put in the chat the link where you can register for next Sunday's service or future services. We'll be scheduling services out for several weeks, so you can register in advance. We are really excited about this. So you can online to join us, and also know that wherever you are, even if you're right down the street from the church, you are always welcome to join us on Zoom. We are really working on being a fully hybrid experience. So with grace, this is around the corner for us. There is a Lent schedule. We are moving, next week is Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday will be a fully online service at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and you can join that service by using the same link that you use to sign on to worship. We also will have a Maundy Thursday service, a Good Friday service, all coming up down the road. But most immediately, please know that Ash Wednesday, which will be March 2nd at 7 o'clock p.m., we'll have a really beautiful, reflective service wherever you are. There's a little bit more about that. And then, is that it? That's it for now. So great. Thank you so much. So now I want to check and see. I saw a couple kids in the room. I want to see who is here this morning. Eli and Maisie, I think I saw you. I see you. Good, great. I see you. I want to see who else we have here this morning, if anybody, before we start chatting. If there are any other kids in the room, please jump up and down, raise your digital hand, your virtual hand, stick your foot in the air. Okay, great. All right. Well, then, Eli and Maisie, let's talk. let's start with how we always do. Just tell us what's going on, what you're up to, how you're feeling, what you're thinking about. We're really, really happy to hear.
We're gonna come in next week to church.
Yay! Oh, I'm very excited. How do you feel about that? What are you thinking about
Excited, I guess.
that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you're looking forward to or that you are excited about?
No, just
No?
being in the
No?
church again.
Just being in the church again. Oh, it'll be so good to be in the church again with you. It'll be so good to be in there with you.
We're on.
Hey, Maisie.
She's hiding in the other room.
Trying to take
Oh,
a nap, apparently.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, Eli, that'll be great to see, to be together with you for some of us in this phase.
You told them?
Anything else going on with you or your sister who's in the other room that you want to tell us about? I think you're still on mute. Okay. We might need to shift those
There we go.
settings. There we go. Anything else you want to tell
We're
us
gonna
about?
get a cat soon.
You are? Okay.
Are we getting a pair? We're getting a pair, apparently. Two cats.
A pair of cats. Oh my gosh. So what's that going to look
And
like?
what are their
You're getting
names?
them.
We don't know who yet. We applied for adoption and we're trying to pick a pair that will work or that needs to be adopted together. So they're not alone all day when we're at school and work.
Okay. So would that likely mean cats that are siblings to each other already?
Maybe, or just two different cats.
Okay.
Sometimes they're in foster homes together and they've already bonded. So sometimes they're
Okay.
siblings, sometimes they're not.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
me and Maisie like this one cat named Rasmus.
Oh, really?
It's like
You've
an
already
all
met it?
black cat, and he's really cute.
Ooh. Oh, you are such a great cat family. I've been in your house so many times with your cat, and I know that your family is a really, really great place to be a cat. So I am pretty excited for whoever this cat pair is. They have no idea what's in store for them. They would be really lucky to be with you. They don't.
They don't even know what's coming.
They don't know what's coming. It would be a perfect cat life to be a cat in the Fritch household. Oh, that's very exciting. Please keep us posted. We want names, we want pictures, we want to see them on Zoom, all of that. That's really exciting.
I have one cat sitting right here.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah,
That's
she
right.
can be sitting there all church.
Oh, that's a perfect spot. Perfect spot. Well, it's good to see you. We talked about Sunday school before, but just know that we are holding a spot for you and really excited to see you next week. And anytime you're here, we are so grateful. And Maisie, that goes for you too, wherever you are. So, good to see you. Take good care. All right. See you soon. Over to you, Kipp. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Good to see everyone. It's a hard week to preach in a world that is awakened once again to war. I know we come expecting something, maybe answers, maybe something else. I will tell you up front, I don't have answers. But I offer this as our first reading by the poet Anne Weems. Our first reading, I no longer pray for peace. On the edge of war, 1 foot already in, I no longer pray for peace. I pray for miracles. I pray that stone hearts will turn to tender-heartedness and evil intentions will turn to mercifulness. And all the soldiers already deployed will be snatched out of harm's way, and the whole world will be astounded onto its knees. I pray that all the God talk will take bones and stand up and shed its cloak of faithlessness and walk again in its powerful truth. I pray that the whole world might sit down together and share its bread and its wine. Some say there is no hope, But then I've always applauded the holy fools who never seem to give up on the scandalousness of our faith, that we are loved by God, that we can truly love one another. I no longer pray for peace. I pray for miracles. In the church year, this is the last season of the last Sunday of the season of Epiphany. It's the last Sunday before we start the season of Lent. This is called Transfiguration Sunday. And the central story, the gospel reading, is of Jesus up on a mountain with his some of his disciples, and he's transformed before them, and Moses and Elijah show up. But I'm not reading that story this morning. I'm reading the story, the assigned reading from the book of Exodus, which also involves transformation and glowing. And this is how it goes from Exodus 34. As Moses came down from Mount Sinai, carrying the 2 tablets of the covenant, he was not aware that the skin on his face was radiant from speaking with God. When Aaron and the other Israelites saw Moses, they were afraid to approach him because of the radiance of the skin of his face. Only when Moses called to them did Aaron and the leaders of the community come near, and then Moses spoke to them. Later, all the Israelites gathered around, and Moses gave them the instructions he had received from God on Mount Sinai. When he finished speaking to them, Moses put a veil over his face. Whenever Moses entered the presence of God, he would remove the veil until he came out again. And when he would come out and tell the Israelites what had been commanded, they would see that the skin on his face was radiant. Then he would put the veil over his face again until he went in to speak with God. This is God's good news. So here's an unexpected parable for our day. Moses put a mask on his face in public and kept it there until he was back in private. And he did this to protect other people. Sometimes the Bible does have easy answers. Moses also grew horns on his head from being in God's presence. I know you probably didn't hear that in the reading, but that's what some ancient Christians thought the story said. If you look up images of Michelangelo's statue of Moses, and you're on your devices, so you can Google over there right now, that's what you'll see. A chiseled, which is not just a pun about a statue. I mean, the guy is ripped. The guns on him, that's a left arm you would not want to take on in an arm wrestling tournament. Anyway, Michelangelo loved his Moses, I guess. Michelangelo's Moses is a chiseled beardo with 2 horns sticking up out of his head, looking for all the world like an ancient hipster who went in for some odd kind of body modification. That comes from a mistranslation of what might actually have been wordplay in the Hebrew Bible. The Hebrew word that says Moses' face was radiant, that it shone, can also be translated as horned. And the 4th century translation of the Bible into Latin opted for that one. So while our English translations now position Moses as getting a potentially lucrative account with a miraculous skincare regimen company, generations of Bible readers thought of him with horns growing from his head. It's just one of the funny things about a long and head-spinning section of Exodus. The assigned reading today is just these 7 verses that I read for you, but it's part of a much longer tale in which Moses spends a lot of quality time with God while the people wonder what in the world is going on. The story shows multiple sides of God, including, I'm not kidding, God's backside, and multiple sides of Moses. It is in turns hilarious and heartbreaking and terrifying. It starts with God summoning Moses up onto the mountain with the promise of stone tablets of commandments. When Moses gets up there, the story says The cloud covered the mountain. The glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. On the 7th day, God called to Moses out of the cloud. That's right. God summoned Moses to a date and then made him wait a whole week while God was getting ready. Who knew that God was such a diva? And if that's not enough, God spends the next 6 chapters of the story luxuriating in the details of the tabernacle and its accoutrements, of the curtains, of the furniture, of the robes that Aaron and the priests are going to wear. Darling, this is Broadway in the Bible. But it's not all fun. Some of it's very fun, but not all of it. While Moses and God are lost in each other's company, all of the rest of the people are left waiting at the bottom of the mountain without any clue about when or even if Moses will come back, and no real idea of what they're supposed to do next. Did he lead them out into the wilderness only to abandon them? What are a wandering people to do? You may know the story. They figured that they'd been abandoned, so they told Moses' brother, the priest Aaron, to conjure another god to show them the way. They give him all of their gold, and he melts it down and fashions it into the shape of a calf, a radiant thing with horns, as it happens. You see the wordplay coming back. The people said, "Here are the gods who brought us out of Egypt," and they set up a festival day to eat and drink and party. And if you do know the story, you know this isn't going to end well. Up on the mountain, God tells Moses to leave so that God can nurse their own anger and destroy all the people they've left waiting. Here's a remarkable moment in the story. Moses talks God down, just like Abraham had done in an earlier incident of God's wounded ego and flaring temper. God, if you want to destroy the people, or if you destroy the people, you'll just be a laughingstock. The Egyptians will talk smack about the deity who led the people out into the wilderness to kill them. That's Moses' argument. It changes God's mind. God repents, as it were. That's a remarkable claim, that a human can debate God and win. But after Moses had acted as the intermediary and the protector for the people, he turns right around and acts out God's revenge fantasies himself. He melts down the golden calf, grounds it into powder, mixes the powder with water, and makes the people drink it. He yells at Aaron, "What did you do?" Aaron gives the classic response of every dude who doesn't want to take responsibility for his choices. "They made me do it. I don't know what happened. They just said, 'Make us some gods.' So I tossed their gold into the fire and out came this calf." That's my favorite part of the whole story. Out came this calf. That's the comic relief. Maybe the weakest excuse in all of the Bible. Out came this calf. Because the Bible can be pretty funny, but it can also be pretty awful. To wit, the very same Moses who had just talked God down from being a weapon of mass destruction now calls together men from the tribe of Levi. This is an origin story about how the Levites became Israel's priests. And he tells them, this is what God says. "Put on your swords and go throughout the camp to kill your brothers, your friends, and your neighbors." And it says they killed 3,000 people that day. This is not a bedtime story. The Bible is hilarious. It's also heartbreaking and terrifying, much like the world we inhabit. After weeks of nervously watching a buildup of troops on Ukraine's border and hearing US government reports and other governmental reports about the likelihood of a Russian invasion, the world watched it unfold on Thursday. From 3 sides of the country, Russian troops and weapons poured in. They fired explosives. They fought a battle at Chernobyl, raising the possibility of nuclear waste leakage. The siege is still going on. I have been checking New York Times headlines in an unhealthy manner. It might raise questions about why media coverage of and world attention to these events always seems so much greater when the human beings involved are lighter skinned, don't refer to God as Allah, for instance, when they are whiter, more Western, and therefore seem more like us. Those are fair and important questions. It's also true that Russia has unleashed brutality and destruction. It is also true that this may very well spark a new refugee crisis. It is also true that the specter of nuclear weapons hangs over us all. We're connected, this congregation, with at least one Ukrainian, Solomia Ivakiv. We heard her playing violin in the gathering music. She's been with us several times to share her gift of music, a world-traveling musician who's played her violin and one time an actual Stradivarius in our sanctuary. The last time we saw her was just over a year ago, when she joined us on Zoom long enough to play a couple of pieces in honor of Linda's 20th anniversary here. On Thursday, Kyoko and I independently reached out to her with words of support, let her know that her friends here are holding her and her nation in prayer. And on the day that all of this unfolded, I also had occasion to smile and to be gobsmacked by beauty, and to laugh, because life in this world is hilarious and heartbreaking and terrifying and tragic, like the Bible. One of the challenges and invitations of reading the Bible in this world, our world, is to notice the different pictures of God that it presents. Even in the narrative of Exodus and God's interactions with Moses, God is seen as needy and passionate and generous, as a diva and a lover, a destroyer and a creator, as open to being changed, as prone to rage, as provider of life and bottomless love. These contrasts and paradoxes, they're evident throughout the Hebrew Bible. We can also see them in the Christian scriptures as well. We should never make the mistake of saying the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament. The same God in the Christian scriptures who said to love the world eternally and endlessly in and through Jesus, also in the book of Acts, causes a married couple to drop dead on the spot, one after the other, when they sell their property, hold back some of the proceeds from the community, and then lie about it. Absolutely loving, absolutely brutal. There are a couple of ways we might see these divergent portrayals of God. On the one hand, we might take them as pretty straightforward accounts. They're in the Bible, right? And the Bible is supposed to tell us about God. These are the stories we have, so we have to submit ourselves to them. Never mind if they sometimes imagine God as being as predictably unpredictable as an abusive parent or partner. They tell us what we need to know and what we have to do, because the word comes down from on high and it is our job to listen to it. This reading gives us an authoritarian God. An awful lot of Christians seem to want this authoritarian God. And an awful lot of damage is done in the name and in the image of this authoritarian God. The authoritarian impulse props up white supremacy. It gave a demagogue 4 years in the White House and an ongoing platform to spout lies that erode democracy. The authoritarian impulse has unleashed destruction in Ukraine. The authoritarian impulse is built on extraction and obedience, and it abdicates responsibility for deliberation and conversation. But it's not the only option. Another way to see these portrayals of God in the Bible is that they are the longings and the yearnings of an uprooted and vulnerable people, the people who suffered violence and who perpetrated violence, who reached for the sublime and sometimes dropped it on the ground. The Bible holds profound clarity of insight and depth of wisdom. It also holds projections and rationalizations and distortions and no shortage of destructive impulses. It's heartbreaking and terrifying and tragic, but it also holds endless possibilities for playfulness and inspiration, for motivation and challenge to seek justice and wholeness. So our job as people who take the Bible seriously, but not literally, is to look for that which gives life. It's there in sight, sometimes even in the terrifying tales. The natural world, it says, is imbued, is filled with, is saturated with sacredness. God is within the clouds. God is on the mountaintop and also shows up in the valleys. God is in the radiance of Moses's face. God is light. God is also in darkness. God is a tender parent. Jesus talks about being bread, of God as a vine, that which sprouts up and grows out and connects. These are very different from God as up there. These are metaphors of God as within and around and among, God as gatherer. They're not God as do this or else. They are God as growth and connection, as the very source of life, life that persists in spite of the odds. I don't know how this helps us in the short term. I don't mean to offer it for easy answers. I don't know what it does for Ukrainian families sheltering in subway stations. I don't know how it soothes Philadelphia mothers grieving gunshot deaths. I don't intend to make promises that the Bible won't keep. But I know this: authoritarianism is dangerous in politics and in theology. I also know this: that today in the church calendar is Transfiguration Sunday, as I said, about a story in which Jesus goes up on a mountain with a few disciples and ends up in deep conversation with Moses and Elijah. The story is named the Transfiguration because of what happens to Jesus in it. He starts shining like Moses. But maybe we can think of the day as actually charging the transfiguration of God, or the transfiguration of our images of God. And maybe that can transfigure our ways of being in community with each other. To say no to an authoritarian God is to say no to authoritarianism at all levels. And maybe that will undo a little of the damage that human beings do. Hilarious, heartbreaking, terrifying, and tragic, but also full of possibility. Maybe this is God's good news. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Kipp. We just let some of that kind of sift into ourselves. You want to notice the ways in which we, as a community that proclaims that God is other than an authoritarian God, that there are new and other and old and ancient ways to live together collectively and collaboratively, that being a spiritual community in a time of brokenness and reckoning matters, and that we have something to offer to one another and to the world. And we do this in part by showing up. We do this in part by giving of ourselves, our prayers, our presence, our gifts, and our service. And so this is the moment in our worship where if we were in person, we would be passing around a bowl. And here we pass around an invitation to contribute what we have and who we are to this collective effort to create a new way of being together in the world. So we invite your gifts We will put in the chat ways in which, thank you, ways in which you can contribute to this ministry. Some of you are already contributing in significant ways, and we want to recognize that and thank you for that. Thank you so much. If you don't already have some kind of elements with you to sip and to taste, invite you to find something and bring that near as we begin together our time of communion.
I also, while folks are doing that, just want to notice, and Melinda, I overrode you and started the recording again, just so we hear this. I want everyone to have the chance to see this image, which we've put on our slides today, was sent to us this week. Kyoko's mother, Miyako, created this painting called Return. And I thought it was lovely, and I thought we should all have a chance to know that we've got people with wonderful gifts who are connected to us. So again, thank you, Kyoko, for sharing this, and thank you to your mom for sharing her painting Return with us.
Amen.
Who has sent us music for this. So our closing song is Be Now My Vision. Let's sing together. Be now my vision, O God of my heart. Nothing surpasses the love you impart. You my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, presence light. Be now my wisdom and be my shepherd. Ever within me, my soul is assured. Mother and Father, you are holy. Now and forever, your child I will be. Riches I need not, nor life's empty praise. My inheritance now and always. You and you only are first in my heart. Great God, my treasure, may we never part. Sovereign of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, all bright and sun. God of my own, not forever be small. Still be my vision,
Amen. With that lovely and gentle reminder that we can make all kinds of music even when we're not all fully synced up with each other or with the music itself, that the music still continues and still lives in us. Go from this place into a world that is surely hilarious, heartbreaking, terrifying, and full of possibilities. And know that you are not alone, but are held by the deep, broad, and persistent love of God. Go in peace. Amen.